The Diofield Chronicle. I have a lot of thoughts on this one, which is very useful since this is my review for it. Diofield was originally announced on March 2022 and 6 months later it arrived on modern consoles and PC. If only every Square Enix game was released in the same year of its announcement. But Diofield Chronicle is not the AAA title we're used to seeing from these developers, and in many ways this really shows. If I could sum up my feelings in a sentence, it would be that the Diofield Chronicle has a load of potential but doesn't quite reach the mark. There is enjoyment to be found here, but much of it is pretty short-lived. And there you go, no need to watch the review now, see you later. Since you're still here, before we get into it, it would help me out a lot if you hit the like button and subbed for more RPG content coming soon. Also, all footage that you see is from the PS5 version of the game, and a review code for this game was provided by the publishers. Alright, let's get into it. The Diofield Chronicle takes place in the Kingdom of Elitane on Diofield Island, which is mostly free from the conflict between the Empire and Alliance on the continent below. However, in order to get the upper hand in the war, both the Empire and Alliance start to show interest in Diofield's jade deposits, which grant soldiers magical abilities. You play the role of Andreas, who soon leads the Blue Foxes mercenary group along with Frederick, Iscarion and Walter Quinn. You'll be taking on mission after mission in hope of keeping the peace within the kingdom and also preventing the nearby war from spilling into the island. The story is very Game of Thronesy, with various nations at war and the internal noble factions constantly at each other's throats. Now, I have some major mixed feelings about this story. There is a lot that happens with plenty of scheming, twists and turns and some very interesting reveals. The foundation for a great story is here, it's just the delivery is woeful. This is partly due to the characters, most of which lack depth and are never given opportunity to grow. Because of this, the key plot moments that you should care about are way less impactful than they should be. Another reason for this poor story delivery is how key events are communicated to the gamer. Major story events are often rushed through in seconds or just explained by the narrator after the mission has been completed. Furthermore, there is a lot of important key information that requires you to read through in the optional library. You literally have to load your clear game save, travel to the library and read the updated character bios to learn the truths about these characters' motivations and who they really are. I actually found this read very interesting, but at the same time was left baffled as to why this key information wasn't presented through or at the end of the game. Whether this poor delivery was due to budget or inexperience, the fact remains that it was a missed opportunity to become something really great. Also worth noting is that there's a few questions that remained unanswered, so I'm hoping there'll be a sequel or at least some DLC, which I will definitely be on board for. Much like the storytelling, Diofield's presentation is very hit and miss. There are a lot of different presentation styles and I would have liked a bit more consistency in this area. Firstly, we have this artistic style which looks incredible and I wanted much more of this. Then we have the narration map style, which is a good way to reinforce what's going on, but it does lead to the game telling you what's happening rather than showing you. There are also a few cinematic sequences that look decent enough and are usually reserved for key points in the story. Then there's the basic character interactions, which is sometimes fully voiced but often full of grunts and misleading single words that sometimes don't really relate to what the dialogue is saying. The character models here are also generations behind with very stiff animations and some of them just look awkward. You can also run around your HQ between missions, but this is a very lifeless environment. There was no reason for me to actually run around checking things out, so I just fast traveled everywhere. I do, however, really like the visual style of the battles themselves, and I feel that it complements the gameplay perfectly.
Whoa! Look at this! It's amazing! Wow!
The Duke is said to be a connoisseur of foreign culture. This, he would have had specially imported, I'm sure.
Well, well, well. Not just a ragtag band of sellswords after all. I'm intrigued.
Now, let's get on to the meat of the Diofield Chronicle, the strategic combat. This is easily the strongest part of the game, until it isn't. You go into each mission with 4 characters and run around the battlefield in real time to complete the objective. Time can, however, be stopped whenever you want to look around the map, move a character, or select a skill. While you can only start with 4, you do have the option to switch out a single character up to 3 times per battle. This is good in theory since you will have quite a few few party members towards the end of the game. I hardly used this though, since my main party was so much stronger due to reserves not receiving any EXP. Something that I loved is that each mission is short and sweet and only takes about 5 minutes to complete. There are quite a few tools to help you better control your party, such as select all, select those in a range, cycle through the characters, and auto-attack your nearest enemy. The key strategy is through the position of your party. You'll want your tanks to take damage, your attackers to hit enemies from behind, and your ranged characters and mages to keep a safe distance. Other things you'll need to consider is being ambushed from behind and AoE attacks, which you can either cancel with the right skills or run away from. There was a time during my playthrough where I thoroughly enjoyed this combat system. There was a lot of fun to be found here, but it didn't take long for it to become extremely repetitive. You see, there is very little variation between mission objectives, enemy types, and even skills to use in battle, and by the end of the game, I had enough. These mechanics never evolved, and as I got stronger, the same strategy would work for every single encounter. And this is made even worse by the imbalance and lack of difficulty. I played on normal, and for the first half of the game, all I really had to think about was meeting the bonus mission objectives, which are unfortunately always the same. These are clearing the mission in under 6 or 8 minutes and completing the mission without being KO'd. And for the record, by all reports, the hard difficulty really isn't much harder. There's also a complete imbalance in skills and unit types, which further limited the number of viable strategies. To beat the game, all you need to do is use the Assassination ability over and over again. This skill also happens to be unlocked from the very start of the game, and for every single mission in the entire game, it is incredibly overpowered. My strategy was making sure I could use Assassination as much as possible, which left my other 3 characters not contributing nearly as much as I would have liked. More difficulty, more variation, better balance. These 3 things hold the otherwise enjoyable combat back big time. Every time you complete a mission, you'll be sent back to your HQ, and this is where you can build your characters. We'll start with skills, which are unique to each of the 9 unit types, which fall under Soldier, Cavalier, Sharpshooter, and Magicka. Unfortunately, I felt that Diofield was lacking in the variety of skills, as I was using many of the same skills throughout the entire game. These skills that a character can take into battle is entirely dependent on the weapon they have equipped, which will come with between 1 and 3 skills. This makes it so that the stats of a weapon isn't the only thing to think about, as having skills to better suit your playstyle may be more worthwhile. And by playstyle, I mean just use Assassination on everything. Now, you can increase the strength of these skills for the whole unit type by spending the SP you get when on missions. Something that I felt this system sorely lacked was unique skills to differentiate characters who are of the same unit type. The only thing unique about each character is the passive abilities that can be upgraded with AP earned through leveling up. Some of these increase a particular stat, while others provide other passive benefits. One of Castavir's, for instance, increases all of his stats by 20 when paired up with a female character. Yes, while you can only take 4 characters into battle, you are able to pair each of them up with a support character, and this does add some variation to the combat. For instance, you could pair the Cavalier Frederick with the Mage Shavat, which would provide the normally close-ranged unit with the use of magic spells. This pairing mechanic is something that I did really like. There actually is quite a bit to upgrade and customize outside of battle. In addition to skills and abilities, there's also summons that can be strengthened, as well as weapon trees that provide more powerful weapons to buy in shops. The loop of obtaining different currencies during missions then returning to upgrade your party was a lot of fun, until I ran out of things to upgrade near the end of the game. The Diofield Chronicle was a very hit and miss experience that was brimming with potential but just could not hit the home run. One may even say that there was an assassination of potential. The best thing about Diofield is the combat. It is a load of fun for about half the game, but then the lack of variation and difficulty saw it become very repetitive, to the point that I could steamroll through a large chunk of the game employing the same strategy over and over again. The unbalanced unit types also didn't help things, with the one move kills all kind of situation throughout the entire game. At least the story is good. Well, it could be great. The foundation is there for something amazing, but it isn't delivered nearly as well as it should be. On most accounts, the Diofield Chronicle is a case of wasted potential. It could have been a really awesome, well-rounded experience. In fact, it was at times, but it just doesn't sustain this for as long as it needs to. But with that said, there is definitely something here if you're into this type of game, and I am still really interested to see where this series goes in terms of evolving the combat and continuing the story. What did you think of the Diofield Chronicle? Let me know in the comments below. This was Hellfire RPGs. Thanks for watching. If you liked this review, hit like and sub for way more RPG content coming soon. See you next time.